Welcome back to Those Happy Places, the podcast that treats theme park rides and attractions like literature. I'm Buddy Duquesne.
And I'm Alice White.
And today we'll be talking about Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, the ride featured in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at both Universal Orlando and Hollywood. And the big question today is, does the ride meaningfully add to or fit in with the Harry Potter canon? And does it matter if it does that at all? But Alice, I guess a smaller question, and a question that'll get us started, is this. Why the Wizarding World of Harry Potter? I mean, this is our first episode on Universal Studios. What brings us to Harry Potter right away?
Well, the Harry Potter rides are the addition of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter to Universal Studios. Happened not that long ago and is really truly the best thing that Universal Studios has ever done. The theming of the parks are so excellent and are so much more immersive and exciting than anything else in any Universal Studios park, and dare I say, in any theme park. I went live from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter on Twitter the other day, and from everything from the cobblestones on the street to the theming of the shops and everything around you is just so beautifully immersive. It's almost like you've walked right into Hogsmeade. It's straight out of the film. And I guess jumping straight to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey rather than a more classic Universal Studios ride such as Jurassic Park or something is because this ride is among the best, not just in the park, but in theme parks in general. And I like it. Also with the, I just want to talk about it, but also with the, with this year, they're coming out with the newest Fantastic Beasts film. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter, advertising campaigns are just everywhere. And this ride is so relevant right now. And I thought it was about time we got to it.
Not to mention that Harry Potter is a really meaningful franchise, for you especially. I mean, I'm a little bit of a fan, but you're the real expert here.
I'm the resident expert here. I like to say that, and this is true, I have never been beat at Harry Potter trivia. I would like to be proven wrong. And I love Harry Potter, and I've loved it since I read the first book, not right when it came out. I was still kind of young, but when I was very young when the books were coming out. And the year that the first film came out, we were 11 years old, the same age as the characters. We were at exactly the right age for Harry Potter to be extremely meaningful and very impactful on our lives. And though this is not a Harry Potter fan cast
Yet.
Give me time. I want to talk about this ride and what it means and where it sits in canon and how the unique mechanics of this ride help tell a story.
Oh, that's perfect, and that's what we're gonna hope to do here today. So, in preparation for this, you went to Universal Studios Hollywood and rode the ride, what, twice?
Twice. I've ridden it a lot, but my mother came with me, and she gets really motion sick, so she couldn't do the ride more than once with me the other day, because it's a really intense ride.
Yeah, and I guess we should probably at this point start to talk about how it differs perhaps from other dark rides, or maybe even other thrill/dark rides at the Universal Studios parks that kind of have their own formula, right?
Right. It's very unique.
So Universal has this thing that they do, and I know that this is a very technical way of putting it, but Universal likes to put audiences in cars that are like sort of articulated. They can kind of bump around and move, and they put you in 3D glasses, and they essentially move you through a series of practical sets, and then in front of a couple of screens that kind of animate the characters in 3D. And then, there's some kind of effect that goes with the screen, and then you kind of move on to the next part, depending on the plot of the ride, right? But Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is different. For starters, you are not given 3D glasses, though that was not true until 2016. So there are no 3D glasses on this ride, and I think personally that's for the better, because the motion of this ride is especially unique. Guests get on a bookcase with seats in it.
Essentially.
No,
yeah.
I believe that's the canon explanation, is it not? Like, oh, we're going to enchant this, or is it Quidditch stands?
I think it's Quidditch stands.
Is
it? Anyways, you get into a four-person car.
Yeah, it's a 4-person car that is, you board it on an Omnimover style boarding area. The cars are constantly moving. You're on a conveyor belt with them. You sit down, you belt in, and that's when the ride begins in earnest. You meet Hermione, who puts a spell on or enchants the car in some way that makes it start to fly. And when it does, the car is kind of lifted up on this mechanical arm, kind of like those arms that you see in car factories. I guess is the best analog, right?
Yeah, it looks a lot like that.
So it's kind of one of those big yellow arms in a car factory. I think these are not yellow. And you are moved from scene to scene as you follow Harry, Ron, and Hermione through a series of iconic places and events in Hogwarts' history. Many of which look exactly like they do from the film. So
yes.
There's a part where you're chased by a dragon. There's a part where you're avoiding spiders in the Forbidden Forest. The Whomping Willow kind of takes a swing at you. You end up in a Quidditch game. And then there are Dementors, which Harry Potter chases away. And then you follow him back to
the Chamber of Secrets.
The Chamber of Secrets, right. And there's that kind of brief moment. And then you end up back in the Great Hall. And that's kind of the basic structure. And the whole time, the car that you're on is flipping up and rotating
nearly all the way upside down.
Yeah, to the point where you're on your back ish at a few points, and it's pausing and moving very realistically for something that might be floating in front of a couple of these set pieces, and the motion is almost constant. And you and I were looking into this, and we found kind of an explanation of how the ride actually works. Because with that Omnimover system, you might assume that the ride has to move very simply, or that you're very narrowly missing other cars seeing the same thing. For example, like with the Haunted Mansion, the Omnimover, you can see all of the cars around you in certain scenes. But this is not the case with this ride.
No, it's on these cool arms that move, and when you're in front of a screen, you don't stop in front of the screen. The screen rotates with you. And so the screen becomes part of the Omnimover system. Like it joins you for a minute. And there's this really great animation that's up on YouTube of how this works, and we'll link it to all of our social media so you can check it out for yourself. But the screen is almost it's shaped like a lens, so that when you're in front of it, it takes over your whole field of vision, and the screen and you move together until the screen deposits you in front of your next practical set piece.
And I gotta say, the practical set pieces in this ride are also really, really good. The dragon looks great, and he breathes fire on you. I love the Whomping Willow. I think it looks amazing.
The Whomping Willow is perfect.
And the Dementors especially are a great scene that is really creepy. And like the first time I saw it, I remember feeling like that jolt of fear that rides want out of you, but rarely do they really get. Even in those really grand moments, like at Universal Studios Jurassic Park ride, right? With
right.
The giant T-Rex, like you're not going like, oh no, the T-Rex is gonna get me, because it's it's kind of like I see the mechanism and it's kind of far away, and I see that we're about to drop, so the atmosphere is kind of broken. But the Dementor is like right in your face, and the lighting and sound is perfect, and you linger in front of it as it like whispers, and that's really really cool. Before Harry, of course, rescues you. So yeah, I really do think that this is an incredibly effective ride system. Not just because of the efficiency of the Omnimover, which I will never shut up about. Uh, but I think
Please never shut up about it.
it's so good that many people can board the ride that quickly, and that people are always moving through it. It's a guest eater, and it puts you on this ride for 4 minutes, while people are just still being funneled on and off of it, and it's awesome. So I think it's an incredibly effective storytelling system for the ride too, because it really immerses the audience. It moves them through these places and these events very, very quickly with a great sense of motion that's very believable for the universe. And it's a really innovative way to move that many people through that and still to give them a very personal feeling experience, which I think you can't get with some of the other more conventional ride setups.
Yes, absolutely. It's it's an incredible ride. And I want it stated up front. Before I move on to what I want to talk about this ride, I want it stated right now that I love this ride. And I love Harry Potter, and I'm a huge fan, and I've been on this ride a dozen times, and it is still awesome. And in the ride when they're like when they're saying oh, here's the spell to get rid of the spider. It's Arania Exame. I'm like, I say it out loud with Hermione. I'm like, Arania Exame, get away from these spiders. Like, I am involved in this story. I'm no shame in my game. I yell at the ride like while I'm on it. I'm yelling Expecto Patronum. I'm like doing the whole thing.
That's I think that feeling, that intensity, that feeling included is something that maybe you felt the first time you watched a movie, but not the 12th time you watched it.
Right.
And that's the power of a ride, is that you can feel that involvement. It's an experience that's happening to you too. And even at the end of the ride, Dumbledore congratulates you, right? It's something that you took part in.
And then he says, welcome back, and we hope to see you again, and you're getting applauded at the end for having survived your Hogwarts encounter. And
I mean, like, you survived the 3 most dangerous students at Hogwarts for 4 minutes. That's for impressive.
4 whole minutes. Yeah, it's quite the feat, and part of this, part of that comes from the pre-show. And so it's really, the pre-show of this ride is one of the best ever. This ride is just so good. I can gush about it all day. In the pre-show, you walk into the front doors of Hogwarts Castle, which is this beautiful, perfect example of forced perspective, where the castle looks enormous, even when you're right underneath it. And you just, you walk into the front doors of the castle, and when you're walking through the castle, seeing all of these cool little Easter eggs, like the jewel system used to keep track of the house points, and
the Sorting Hat is there.
And the Sorting Hat is there, and he's talking and having a blast. And at one point, you walk through Dumbledore's office, and the Pensieve is set up, and all of this really cool stuff. And Dumbledore says, "Oh, welcome to Hogwarts. Like, we're happy to host you Muggles here. Yeah, you're going to sit through a couple of classes. We've got this really nice lecture prepared by Professor Binns, a history of magic teacher. It's going to be really great. Welcome to Hogwarts." And then in the next room, you're in the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione come out from under their invisibility cloak, and they're like, "That all sounds super boring." Well, Hermione's like, "Actually, I find it quite fascinating."
That's such a Hermione thing to say.
I know. But the boys are like, "Hey, like, we know you don't want to do this. Like, you want to hang out with us because we're great. So we're gonna go. We like Hermione, because she's a genius, figured out a way to get you to float and fly around with us, and we're gonna show you the grounds and play some Quidditch. It's gonna be awesome." So you do, and so you theoretically are supposed to get on the ride. fly around behind Harry and Ron, watch some Quidditch and have a good time. But then all of a sudden, no, there's a dragon. You know, like it's a classic ride setup, and Universal does this a lot too, where you're like, oh, we're going to go do this very normal, basic thing. What do you mean something's gone wrong?
Something always goes wrong at Universal
Something
Studios.
always goes wrong at Universal Studios, even in the tram ride. Like, oh no, it's Jaws, look out, you know? Like,
oh no, King Kong. Oh no.
Oh no, an earthquake.
And that's a subject for another day. The normal thing gone wrong, but
but Universal's very good at it.
In the Forbidden Journey, it really works out because the context given is here you are on tour at Hogwarts, and of course things go wrong. It's a magic high school.
It's Hogwarts, it's Harry Potter. You can't go 2 minutes without something crazy happening to Harry Potter. And you expect it in the audience. And it's effective, it's immersive, it's extremely cool. I love this ride. But, and this is a significant but for me. I love this ride, but it doesn't make any sense. The story doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make sense in Harry Potter canon. It doesn't even make sense in its own version of canon. Like, let's start from the beginning. Why are they bringing Muggles in to show them Hogwarts? Why do we get, like, what happened to the International Statute of Secrecy?
That I think it implies a total collapse of wizarding society. So what we're viewing is an alternate collapsed kind of done in version of the wizarding world, I think. Because there's no way that it would happen otherwise. Or maybe we're gonna have our memories wiped after.
Ooh, maybe. So why are Muggles allowed in? That's fine. Then why is there a dragon running around Hogwarts? It's not the middle of the Triwizard Tournament. We know that because they're doing Quidditch, which they don't play in Goblet of Fire. So we know that it's not fourth year, but there's a Hungarian horntail like burning a bridge and everything, like as if it could be controlled only by Hagrid too. Like Hagrid's got like a chain and is like, oh, where's the dragon?
Oops.
Oops, lost a dragon.
How do you lose an entire dragon, Hagrid?
So the dragon starts attacking and it's running around, but all right, fine. The dragon's loose at Hogwarts. Maybe they never recaptured him.
That's fine.
Maybe they never recaptured him after the Triwizard Tournament. Let's assume that.
Okay.
So then we're in the Forbidden Forest, and then there's Aragog, or not necessarily Aragog, but his children, running around. We haven't seen them really since the second book or second movie. But that, you know what? They're always in the Forbidden Forest, so that's fine. So we've got elements now from book 4 and book 2. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to pinpoint where we are in canon. So we're definitely past book 4.
But you have to speak to the appearance of the main 3 as well, though, because they don't look year 2. That's for sure.
They don't. They look year 6-ish. So
yeah, maybe.
And that makes a little more sense because when you go to the Quidditch field, Ron is keeper, and which he doesn't join the Quidditch team until 6th year. So that helps. But then there's Dementors on campus, which the Dementors haven't been let onto Hogwarts grounds since 3rd year. So that's weird, but maybe it's a random Dementor attack.
It's weird that they would be like attacked by Dementors, though, right? Like they're not exactly roving packs of specters that just like appear sometimes, right?
They're not supposed to be, but maybe this is post rise of Voldemort, and maybe Voldemort is like controlling the Dementors now. Like that does happen at some point.
Sure. Later
in canon. Theoretically, not till the fall of the Ministry, which is year 7, after Rufus Scrimgeour is killed, and Voldemort kind of like takes a more public spot in the Ministry of Magic. um, which happens in seventh year, but Harry, Ron, and Hermione don't go to Hogwarts in their seventh year,
And not to
let alone
mention
play
Dumbledore
Quidditch.
couldn't be there.
Not to mention Dumbledore couldn't be there. Spoiler alert. In case you missed it, Dumbledore dies at the end of the sixth book. So
It's got to be
where does
pre-book
this,
6, that's for sure.
it's got to be pre-book 7, definitely.
Pre-book 7.
Pre-book 7 for sure. Mid-book 6?
Maybe.
But then, like, Draco Malfoy is off playing Quidditch. But I don't think Draco Malfoy plays Quidditch in book 6 because he is so busy with his task from Voldemort, which is to kill Dumbledore, that I'm pretty sure he doesn't play. But there he is on the Quidditch pitch with Harry and Ron when the Dementors attack.
Just so that he can say something spiteful at Harry.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Something
you do.
about your Muggle friends, Potter.
Potter.
And Potter. So I don't know. So all right. So it does make sense in canon, but that's fine. Maybe not everybody who rides it, like my mother, have read the books, and so they just so they like made up their own version. But it's not even like internally consistent. The story is like you're supposed to be kind of following Harry through playing Quidditch, but then at some point you're like, oh, we're being attacked by the Whomping Willow, and Harry's nowhere to be seen.
But Hermione is there.
But Hermione is in the forest.
Which is weird because
like,
she was just in Hogwarts and she didn't follow you.
No, because she doesn't fly. Hermione's afraid of flying.
Right.
And you never see her.
Maybe she apparated. You don't see her
on the broom. Maybe you can't operate in Hogwarts grounds.
Oh.
So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And here's another but.
But
does it matter? Does it matter that it doesn't make
sense? To answer that question, I'd like to take you back, and we're going back to the past. To the first time that you rode the ride. Because I was there. I got to witness that moment.
Yes.
And I recall you not even caring.
Not even a little bit.
Because,
do you remember what happened as we were about to get off the ride?
Yeah, we got to ride it again.
Yeah, for some reason or another.
Because it was January in Florida.
And they were like, do you want to ride it again? Do you just want to, like, hang on? And we're like, yes, of course we do.
Yes.
So,
1,000 times yes. Except after the second one, we all felt sick.
We all felt a little sick. It is a very intense ride. It's very, very motion heavy. So, no, of course I didn't care. And like I said, I love this ride. I don't care. I care very, very much about Harry Potter, and I care very much about Harry Potter canon and Harry Potter trivia. Mm-hmm. I don't care that this ride doesn't make any sense. Because it really is more of an homage to the things that we love about Hogwarts and about the Wizarding World, and it's not important that it doesn't make sense.
It's more like a chance to visit your favorite characters as you would like them to be, doing the things you'd like to do with them.
Yeah, of course I want to go fly on a broom with Harry and go on an adventure with Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Of course I want to do that.
Yeah, you want to get up to
Dumbledore clap for
kids.
me.
Yeah. Like it's not necessarily about, hey, remember in movie 5 when this one really great scene happened, let's relive that. It's more about reliving a feeling, and I think this is something that we kind of got to last week when we were talking about Peter Pan, right? It's like here we are with our guys, with our kids, doing that fun thing that they got to do. We're along for the ride.
Right. And actually, now that you say it like that, they are similar rides as far as like a unique structure. It's kind of like homage to the plot itself and this feeling of flight throughout. They're not wholly different.
Not really. And like between the kind of unique movement system and the way that it tries to draw you into the world, they have different purposes, I think. Like, the Forbidden Journey wants you to feel thrilled with the motion, where I think,
a little scared, like you said, with the Dementors.
Yeah, a little fear, a little creeped out. maybe a little like you feel the danger of the moment, uh, where Peter Pan wants you just to chill and like fly in a different way, fly
Well, yes,
casual.
and their audiences are different,
Yeah,
and everything.
but
But yeah, they're
the
similar.
the place in storytelling, the way that it chooses to tell the story, is very Dark Ride. It's this pastiche of moments, this kind of uh, layer upon layer of these things you gotta see if you're doing a Harry Potter ride. And in
Yep,
that way, I
you
think,
gotta see you gotta see the Chamber of Secrets, and you gotta see a Dementor, and you gotta see Quidditch, and you gotta see our your friends, and the castle
yeah,
and
and
a dragon.
you gotta be there for all of it. You can't have a Harry Potter ride without a dragon.
I I don't think I can disagree
Mm.
because I love it. It's meaningful and it's musical and it's so it's I don't know. Nostalgic is definitely a good word for it. It brings back that wonderful nostalgia that you always felt reading the books or watching the films. Um but it's fresh and thrilling um and even people that I know who have been on it who don't consider themselves Harry Potter fans at all, like my mother, my mom loves that ride. She thinks it's so fun and scary. And I think that's just as important when talking about theme park rides as and I know this is about to just like nullify our whole existence, but it's the story almost doesn't matter.
I think part of why it's so interesting to talk about theme park ride stories is that sometimes it seems like they take a huge backseat to feelings and experiences and thrills that can exist outside of traditional storytelling structures. But at the end of the day, that they do tell a story. They try to, anyways. There's that ambition, and we like the ones that do. Uh, and even if they're weird or out of place or weak stories, there is a story there.
And
And I
it's
think
worth talking about.
that's what's worth talking about. So, does Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey have a good story? If we
Eh,
compare it to if we compare it to Harry Potter's books or movies, probably not.
probably not.
There's no time for things like character development or the establishing of an antagonist. I mean, this ride has no antagonist.
It doesn't need an antagonist.
The
Well,
antagonist
it's
is
got
Hogwarts
it's Hogwarts because
and Dementors.
the Wizarding World is trying to kill you at all times.
Right. It doesn't have an antagonist. If you don't know who Harry, Ron, and Hermione are from some outside thing, it doesn't even really have protagonists outside of, hey, we're some kids. We do wacky stuff. Come along for the ride. And you are invited to that, but like you don't get to know that like Ron's kind of a goofy, loyal friend, and Harry is very brave, but sometimes rushes into things. And you do kind of get to know Hermione as the smart one because she exudes that. But the boys might as well be interchangeable in the story of this ride if you isolate it. They're just a couple of boys. Harry knows the Expecto Patronum spell. Ron doesn't. Uh,
Ron misses a goal when he's
Ron
playing
lets
keeper.
Slytherin take the lead. But you know, those little moments mean a lot to us in context of the movies and the books, because, like, of course, Ron would miss would miss the quaffle while he notices that Dementors are flying in. Like, that's such a
Like
Ron moment.
he's like a fine keeper, but he's not like the best keeper.
No. And something like that, like we go, oh, Ron, but
Oh,
imagine
Ron.
having no context and like, hey, that kid just got scored on. What's the deal? Like, oh crap, Dementors. I guess
Oh shoot,
never mind.
we're
Doesn't
being
matter.
attacked. They're coming out of
But
some like whirlwind from the sky. It's so strange.
don't know what a Dementor is. Know that it's scary when it whispers at me. Uh, But yeah, so is the story good? Does it fit into the canon? Nah, right?
Nah,
I think nah is where we landed on that. But
but doesn't matter.
is it still worth our time? Is it still a good story to experience? Is it 4 minutes that we remember? Is it 4 minutes
Definitely.
that stands out? Then yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
And
It's some
that's
of the
part
most
of.
impactful 4 minutes in theme park rides ever.
Well, Alice, our time talking about Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey has come to an end. But before we go today, we have a few shout outs and a few listener responses. So to start us off, Julie asks, why didn't we talk about Small World in the context of Fantasyland's dark rides last episode?
That's a very good question, Julie. The reason why we didn't talk about It's a Small World in last week's episode about Fantasyland Dark Rides is because It's a Small World does not have a plot.
I mean, the plot is the world has
Nope.
come together in song.
That's not a plot. That is a thing.
That's
And
it's a context.
it is a let's just watch these really cool animatronics or very creepy animatronics, depending on who you are, dance and sing the same song for many, 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 many minutes.
I think it's about 9 minutes long from boarding to
It's
debarkation.
the longest ride, and yeah, there's just no plot. There's no story. So,
certainly the
and we are
longest way to
primarily
spend 9 minutes.
there's no plot. There's no story. This is just like it just kind of doesn't fit in with our theme. Although we appreciated it when we were younger, it's not our favorite ride now, and it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't suit our podcast.
Yeah,
so,
and
but thank you for pointing it out. I did mean to mention that when we recorded last week's episode.
Yeah,
but,
we did have a conversation about it ahead of time, and we thought to ourselves, it's just too different. It's not like the other dark rides. It's less traditional. It has a different point than the rest of them. It doesn't tie into any existing story or property, so it didn't really fit the rest of the theme.
And yeah, we didn't mention it, but we're mentioning it now. So thank you, Julie, for keeping us
honest. Thank you so much, Julie, for listening to the podcast and keeping us on track. So do you want to read the next one?
Yeah. We got a comment from Amy. Amy said, found your discussion of Peter Pan's flight really interesting. I went to Disneyland Paris with my boyfriend last year, and we were both really underwhelmed with that ride. Maybe it was having a bad day, but it was really jerky and totally brought you out of the magic. I could not understand why the queues were constantly so long. We got fast passes, so we pretty much just walked on, and why everyone raves about it. I should mention, too, that Amy lives in the UK. So
well, thank you all the way from the UK, Amy.
Thank you all the way from the UK, listener Amy. Yeah, none of us have ever been to Disneyland Paris.
Neither.
I don't. Neither of us. I mean, I kind of meant like no one I know. I don't really. I've never been out there.
But something that you and I were talking about, and when we got this response, we went and watched a ride-on video of the Peter Pan ride in Disneyland Paris, and it's pretty much identical as far as we could tell.
Yep, it's the same ride, at least visually, but of course we're just watching it. It's hard to tell, like, if it is in fact, jerky or not as smooth. Maybe it hasn't been like updated as recently, but yeah, we just watched it and went, oh well, it kind of just looks like the same ride.
Yeah, beat for beat, it's the same scenes, and the motion seems about the same. So maybe there was something about the mechanics of the ride, like you said, Amy. Maybe it was a bad day, or maybe we're kind of nostalgia gogglesing the feeling that we get when we ride the Peter Pan ride in
That's
Anaheim. It could be that it's not as immersive as we remember it, and that's a weird thing with theme park rides, since you can't simply turn on like a movie, right? You can turn on a movie and rewatch it and be like, oh wow, that scene, I didn't remember it that way. You can't exactly just like hop on a theme park ride whenever you want and re-experience it exactly the way it was when you grew up, especially since they change all the time. So there's really no way for us to completely be sure about our memory or our evaluation of the ride.
That's true. It's been a long time. The line is always so long that I always just go, well, I'll skip it
Yeah,
this time.
next time. It's not worth 45 or an hour. It's definitely worth like 25, I think.
Yeah, I'd wait 25 minutes for the Peter Pan ride.
It's about how long.
But hopefully not to then find out that I had been nostalgia goggled this whole time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Anyways, thank you
Thank
again,
you, Amy. So I posed a couple of questions to our Facebook followers on the Facebook page, Those Happy Places. I asked if they could turn any IP, any movie or TV show into a ride, what would they choose and why? And I also asked them what their favorite Fantasyland ride is. I just wanted to ask, since we know what ours were. I wanted to see what our listeners thought.
Courtney says, or she rather asks, if she could have multiple IPs, and she wants an 90s and early 2000s Disney Channel ride or a land in the parks. Two that she really wants included are Lizzie McGuire and Kim Possible. Courtney, I mostly feel like Kim Possible would be more possible as Lizzie McGuire. She grew up, right? But she says that her favorite Fantasyland ride is the Matterhorn, which is another ride that we didn't really mention in our Fantasyland episode, because
except in that we weren't going to talk about it.
Just that we weren't really going to talk about it because we kind of consider it separate and kind of its own thing, not really a Fantasyland dark ride. Again, as you said, Alice, you said that it was a roller coaster, indoor-outdoor coaster with dark ride elements, I think was your exact definition.
I do believe so.
And so Matterhorn, yes, of course, it qualifies. It's in Fantasyland. Don't let anybody tell you any different. But it wasn't on our list to talk about it last week. So thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney. Molly's answer. Molly had several answers to this. Molly wants a villains ride. She wants a ride based on Disney villains. She also wants to bring back the Back to the Future ride, which I'm definitely all for. Absolutely. She wants an Aladdin ride that's kind of like Peter Pan, where you can fly like on the magic carpet and fly over everything. She wants a How to Train Your Dragon ride, where you get to ride a dragon. And she wants a Stranger Things ride, or like a thrill ride where you can flip upside down when you go into the upside down, which I thought was a pretty cool, that might be a cool like literal interpretation of that idea. And Molly says her mom has a couple of suggestions too, her mom Becky. She wants a ride based on The Matrix or Baby Driver.
Or The Matrix and Baby Driver at the same time.
Which I would ride that ride. Absolutely.
I would definitely ride a Matrix ride, and I'd ride a Baby Driver ride.
We've been talking about Matrix rides. We've been talking about Matrix rides since we were like 13 years old and watched the Matrix ride for the first time. Or the Matrix movie. So
Matrix movie.
For the first time. The Matrix movie, which we are huge fans of. Yeah. So I love that suggestion. And Molly says her favorite Fantasyland ride is the teacups.
And I wanted to say about the teacups that, it's its own thing. It's really special, and it's going to be on a future episode about the way that we can interact with our rides. And that's a shining example of one way that we can. So thank you, Molly.
We will talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. Madison says The Lion King, and that it has always bummed her out that there's nothing in all of Disneyland referencing The Lion King, outside of a couple of parade floats, I think. And I 100% agree. I think The Lion King deserves a dark ride, or maybe some kind of a thrill ride, like off of Pride Rock or something like that. I think it would be really cool.
Oh man, or can you imagine Pride Rock set up like Cars Land?
Oh my god, the pictures alone would be worth it. Are you kidding me? It
would be so beautiful.
It'd be really great.
The Lion King deserves better, even if it was just like a shortened, condensed version of the Broadway musical.
Oh, that would be
The
cool.
Lion King. I know the Lion King just deserves to be recognized in the park.
It needs
So
a little bit
yeah,
more from Disney and his and their Imagineers for sure.
yeah, we're definitely with you on that, Madison, for sure.
Thank you, Madison.
Maddie.
And would you like to read the next one?
Yeah, my buddy Dano, and this might be a joke, but we're gonna roll with it anyways. Dano suggested that the classic, British sitcom, The IT Crowd deserves a deserves a ride, which I was laughing because I couldn't think of anything that could actually be a ride about it. It's mostly just like a funny like British
Yeah, like
comedy.
how would you
Um,
writeify that? But
I have no
Alice, you and
idea.
I had a conversation at the beginning of this episode before we started
We
recording,
did brainstorm this.
and I think we've nailed it, Dano. So get this: it's the elevator at their office building, and the IT crew is stuck in the elevator, and they're going from wacky scene to wacky scene, and the elevator is doing Tower of Terror style
Like a Tower of
drops
Terror.
in between. So you get to
And it
laugh,
opens up on a floor and you see the funny characters
and
doing,
they'll do a
like
British
Douglas Renham doing
they'll do a
something.
British thing, and then you'll fall down a few floors, and then at the end they'll say, "Oh wait, we forgot to try turning it off and back on again," and that's what'll fix it.
That's the
And
end of
that's
the
the end of the
ride.
ride. That's how it ends.
It's just a reskin
It's
Tower
just
of
Tower of
Terror,
Terror.
but like we're into
It's
it.
Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, but it's the IT crowd. Dear Disney, that
Exactly.
one's free. You want more?
You can have that one,
You want more
Disney.
brilliant
Just make it.
ideas? We are available. One more kind of a Twitter shout out. This is from somebody that we met on Twitter. Their Twitter handle is WDW underscore 413. And they're an aspiring Imagineer, according to their bio. And WDW says, why not an Avengers ride? They are really stoked on Disney building out a Marvel land in Disney Hollywood Studios and having that space where they can build a partially simulator, partially thrill ride, Avengers ride, where you can go through New York City and help the Avengers save the day, and kind of meet up with each of those characters. And 100%
That would be incredible.
we agree. That is such a cool idea. And if they only opened it in Florida, I would be over there as quickly as possible.
Oh yeah, and I think there is a chance that that might come
I,
true. That we don't know the details yet about or even how they might expand Marvel Land. But they're talking about a Black Panther ride. They're like they tend to do these individual characters as rides. But you're right that a full team Avengers like ride would be the
I
coolest.
think it would be
That would
so
be amazing.
cool if they laid out a Marvel land that had like a Captain America propaganda show, and then like Tony Stark's tech exhibition, and then like meditation with the Hulk, and then like Wakandan science with Shuri, and then you could experience all of those, and those would be fun, D to E ticket rides depending. And then there would be this like F ticket ride that would be the Avengers ride,
Ooh.
and it would be 17 minutes long and have all of the characters from around Marvel Land show up and do their own little thing while you fought some bigger villain. I think that would be the coolest thing ever. And please, Disney, that one is not free. Hire me.
Please hire us and our aspiring
Yes,
Imagineer
please
friend
hire
to design
WDW.
this ride.
He knows what he's talking about. We also have a couple more Twitter shout outs. So Alice, do you wanna talk about one of our longtime listeners?
Twitter shout out to
Hey Natasha.
Natasha
Thank
again.
you for
Natasha's
tweeting
the
at us and
best.
about
She's
us.
constantly tweeting to us and about us and engaging in conversation. Natasha is the best. She's at Nat Chowd, NatChowd, Nat Chowd. If you want to follow her, she's awesome.
And another Twitter shout out to Orange Grove 55. Alice, I think you and Orange Grove were having a conversation on Twitter earlier today.
Yeah, we were engaged in a little conversation about how theme park fans and fans of theme park rides have a tendency to get a little cynical and a little angry sometimes. And we were in agreement that maybe it's time for a little more optimism and a little more positivity in this fandom. And I couldn't agree more. And it was a really nice conversation to have today. And Orange Grove 55 constantly liking and interacting with our stuff on Twitter also. So it's nice to have you on our feed.
Thank you so much, Orange Grove 55, and everybody else on Twitter that likes or says hello. We really enjoy the discourse on Twitter, and we're trying to be kind of that bright spot of optimism about theme park rides and talk about how meaningful they can be.
Yeah.
And we have one final shout out today, and Alice, I'd like to give you the distinct honor of introducing our first audio response.
Yes, our very first call in. This recording comes from longtime listener Lizzie, my very, very, very good friend Lizzie, who I've now mentioned in every episode of this podcast. Lizzie sent us an instead of just telling us about her idea for a new ride, she sent us an audio recording from New York's JFK airport right before boarding her plane to take her birthright trip to Israel, which she is, as we record, on her way to Israel for a 2-week trip. And I, before we play her clip, I want to send my love and good wishes for a very happy and safe trip. And I just got to say, this recording while it's a little loud because it's in an airport, it is an amazing idea and just like so much fun. And we're really glad that we have a recording.
I'll go ahead and roll the clip.
Hey, Alice and Buddy, long-time listener, big-time fan. This is Liz calling in from currently the airport, so I hope this isn't so bad. But before I left to Alice, she had mentioned wanting to get something about the ride idea that I had for Disneyland. I think a really cool new ride for Disneyland that would, tap into a different story would be a roller coaster type ride that involved Sleeping Beauty. So like the lead up to the ride would be like the line part would be like a storytelling portion where you kind of got the background leading up to the dragon fight, and then the actual ride was the dragon fight between Prince Philip and Maleficent. I think that'd be kind of cool, give us something kind of another roller coaster type ride in Fantasyland, but also give Sleeping Beauty a little bit more than just the castle. Sleeping Beauty is really cool, and it's a great story, so I thought that'd be something cool to have. Hope that this recording wasn't super horrible, but love you guys a lot. Bye.
Oh my gosh, Lizzie,
Awesome.
That is so cool. Thank you for sending that to us.
It's such a good idea. And it would be a great roller coaster.
And we were kind of
there are just aren't
earlier, and like imagine like these big thorny roller coaster tracks like wrapped around Sleeping Beauty's castle. There definitely isn't room for it the way Fantasyland is set up right now, and definitely not in a way that would connect it to the castle, but still such a cool idea.
It's so fun to think about and unique, and there just aren't enough like roller coasters, like e-ticket roller coasters in Disneyland Park, and I wish there was more, and I wish that they would make that one. Once again, Disney, that one is not
that
free.
one is copyright Lizzie.
Oh,
and I just want to take another second to say thank you to all of you who are listening. Thank you all for passing along word of our podcast and responding to us and giving us that feedback on Twitter or elsewhere. We really appreciate hearing from you guys. It is the coolest part about having a podcast. So any way that you want to reach out to us, please feel free. We are looking forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely. We're really proud of what we've made, and we really, really love doing this, and to make it making it even better is hearing from people that are listening to it and liking it as well. So thank you
all. Thank you for listening to Those Happy Places. I'm Buddy Duquesne.
And I'm Alice White.
The research for this episode was done by Buddy Duquesne and edited by Alice White.
This episode was edited by Buddy Duquesne and produced by Alice White.
Our theme music is Golden Gate by the California Feetwarmers, featuring Phil Alvin. Find the Feetwarmers on YouTube or on their website, californiafeetwarmers.com.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tell your friends. Send people to our website at www.thosehappyplaces.com and join us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/thosehappyplaces, where we're always talking about theme parks and ideas for future episodes. We're also on Twitter.
That's right, I'm at Buddy_Duquesne. Duquesne is spelled Duquesne.
And I'm at Alice White, THP, for Those Happy Places.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you return to those happy places.